Hello, everyone. I'm Liam Plate, and welcome to another Pirate TV interview. Today, we're joined by Alex Plate, who is an employee at the University of Mississippi in their athletics department. He is the coordinator of athletic facilities at Ole Miss. So, Alex, thanks for doing this with us. How's it going? What's the situation down there in Mississippi?
Thanks for having me, Liam. And it's good. I think we're starting to get back to a level of normalcy here in the city of Oxford, where the University of Mississippi is located. We've got stores and restaurants opening at limited capacity and still reduced hours and having to wear a mask. But I think the state and the city of Oxford is definitely taking a step in the right direction to try and get back to some level of normalcy.
Nice, nice. Glad to hear it. Yeah, the severity of the cases down in Mississippi is a little less than up where I am in Pennsylvania or in New Jersey, where Seton Hall is. But today, Alex, I just want to talk about kind of like how Ole Miss is handling the return to college athletics and coming back in the fall, and how that could affect a smaller school such as Seton Hall and other schools in the Big East. So, to start out, can you just give a general description of your position and what it entails?
Sure, absolutely. My title at the university is coordinator of athletic facilities, and basically, what I do and what the facilities department in athletics does as a whole is a lot of facility management. We kind of go around and make sure that each one of our different athletic facilities is up and running properly, whether that's from our plumbing, electrical, HVAC, fire alarm systems, that sort of thing. And then we get a little bit more in detail with our event management staff that we work very closely with, and make sure that everything from a game day perspective is working properly on our end, such as video boards, scoreboards, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of facility management and a lot of preventative maintenance that we deal with.
So even though no one's really using the facilities at this time, what have you guys been able to what do you guys still need to do to maintain the facilities, and what have you been doing to during the pandemic as far as working still?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually have put together a plan where we have had a set of people walk through all of our buildings in the morning and then in the afternoon as well, and just basically making sure that everything is working properly. We don't have any major concerns, whether it's fire alarms going off or leaks from HVAC units or plumbing fixtures and that sort of thing. And then we've also actually have been able to take some time to really focus on some other things. We put together our budget proposal right when we started our stay-at-home order, and kind of just gave us more time to really focus on a lot of the administrative work that we have to get done, since we weren't in the facilities dealing with as many issues and problems.
Okay, all right. And then Ole Miss and the SEC announced that student athletes are allowed to come back to campus June 8th to continue workouts. So how will the university go about continuing with social distancing and other protocols in place to ensure all the players' safety when they do return to Oxford?
Right, absolutely. So one of the things that we're doing is definitely keeping social distancing in place. We're limiting the number of people who can be in certain rooms, and that comes down to staff, coaches, and players as well. Masks are still being enforced. And one of the things that we've done as well this past week, we've actually installed a lot more hand sanitizer units, have put hand sanitizer bottles into individuals' offices. So just basically working with our health state department and seeing what we need to do to make sure that we can bring student athletes back safely and follow the proper procedures and protocols.
So they are coming back to do workouts and train to get ready for fall sports. But has your department discussed any kind of plan about going about fall sports returning next year?
We're actually just trying to operate as normally as possible. We're excited to have our fall sport athletes come back, and we're actually having men's and women's basketball come back as well. And, our training staff is doing a great job just going on a day-by-day basis to make sure that, they get their physicals done, they're in good shape. There is an understanding that, it will take them a little bit more time to get back to their proper shape, if you will. All of our student athletes are in such good shape already. They almost have a baseline that they're at right now, and it's just trying to get them back to their top peak performance that they play at. And so we're just right now taking everything one day at a time and just trying to operate as normally as possible.
Yeah, that seems to be the kind of protocol everyone's following, just one day at a time. Because I mean, we really never had to deal with a situation like this where you have to think about sports returning and colleges going back. But the president at the University of Alabama said, "quote There will be college football this fall." So is this the kind of attitude that's going on at Ole Miss? Are you guys confident that football will return?
I think we are. We are confident that football will return, and I think that's kind of the take that the entire South has. College football is something that people live and breathe down here, and so everyone's trying to be as optimistic as possible and saying that college football will come back. And I truly believe, and I think everyone at Ole Miss does believe, that college football will be back as well.
Yeah, you did say that it's mainly an attitude in the South because you've seen other schools such as Michigan in the Big Ten where their president doesn't think there'll be college athletics at all. So there have been rumors about just SEC teams playing each other for this football season. Do you see that being a plausible option?
I will say that there is no option that is being taken off the table. So I would say that it's not impossible. I think if you look back to a few weeks ago, the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey was on the Paul Feinbaum show, and when asked a similar question, kind of had the response of that a uniform decision would like to be made across all Power 5 conferences just because we are so interconnected. The first week Alabama's playing at USC. Our first game, or one of our first games, is against Baylor University. So there's a lot of overlap in between conferences. And so I think that nothing is impossible, but I think you're going to see that Power 5 conferences would like to make some form of uniform decision to get college football and all of our fall sports back.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it, especially for football, that's really how they decide a lot of the rankings and stuff like that, based on if you've SEC schools playing Big 12 or Big 10 schools. But since football is Ole Miss's biggest sport, I mean, what is your expectation of how you guys will handle it and what it will look like? So, kind of like, will there be limited capacity or will there be absolutely no fans? What do you expect it to look like in the fall?
Again, it's something that we're taking on a day-by-day basis. The university has very many COVID-19 response teams in place and basically working with the state health department to be able to determine that. The one thing that is good for us is that we still do have on our side to be able to decide what we're doing. I think the best thing that is happening right now is getting our fall sport athletes back so that we can set it up to be able to have fall sports this fall. And then, we still have some time to be able to decide what will happen with fans. And so we're basically just working with our state health department and having them help us to make that decision.
Okay. And then kind of going back to football, the Grove is one of the most time-honored traditions in college football. And for the Seton Hall viewers who don't know, it's kind of an area on Ole Miss's campus similar to the Green at Seton Hall, where it gets packed before football games for tailgating, which is obviously now with social distancing, it would be a coronavirus nightmare. So how do you see Ole Miss handling that? Do you think it'll continue with social distancing, like spacing tents out, or do you think it'll be completely shut down for the upcoming season?
Again, it's something that we're not really tackling right now. I would say tailgating is probably maybe one of the last things to discuss just because, when it comes to tailgating, you don't have to deal with fans being refunded money for tickets or anything like that. It's something that everyone has the opportunity to do. So we're basically, leaving it up to the state health department to kind of help us make all those decisions. You are correct that it is going to be very interesting to see what happens, especially at the Grove. A lot of people may not know, but one of the biggest sayings that Ole Miss is that we may not win every game, but we've never lost a party. And so our fans really like to tailgate and to have a good time. And so We're just, again, trying to take everything one day at a time and trying to make the best decisions we can. And again, we still have time on our hands. So only time will tell what will really happen with tailgating in the Grove.
So just kind of a follow-up to that, do you think Ole Miss's handling of the Grove situation could be an example to other schools to handling their fans or their tailgate situations?
I think it could be, and I think that goes for any school in Power Five conferences. I can't remember who exactly. I think it might have been the University of Iowa's athletic director. Apparently, their marketing team had already been making some plans to, what they would do if there was not tailgating or not. So I don't think it's just Ole Miss. I think if you look at any school in the Power Five and kind of see what they do, again, it comes back to what Greg Sankey said, and that how all the conferences are so interconnected, not even just as far as schedules go, but if you look at articles and reports that these commissioners of the Power Five, they're meeting, every time or every day throughout the week, just basically talking about what they're doing, what their plans are. So I think how we handle it might be an example for some other schools, and, vice versa. I think if it's a school in the Big Ten or, the Pac-12 or Big 12, whoever it may be, they might set the example as well.
So that kind of leads to my next question. The SEC is obviously a bigger conference than the Big East, and Ole Miss is obviously a bigger school than Seton Hall. So how do you think you might have answered already, but how do you think the SEC's handling of the situation will affect the Big East is handling?
Again, I think it's just when you look at college athletics, there's kind of the Power Five conferences that everyone kind of focuses on. And it seems to always be that, what normally the Power Five kind of decides, it usually follows suit. So, it might be that, Seton Hall Athletics Department might have their own plans that they want to implement just because simply they're a smaller school. And what we will do at Ole Miss might not fit what Seton Hall Athletics Department wants to do. But I think there will be, again, some level of whether it's the SEC or one of the other Power Five conferences decides. I think you could see some smaller conferences maybe taking a look at that and saying, oh, that works for us, we'll do that. Or, that doesn't work for us, we have to go back to the drawing board.
So you have experience at a big school and a small school. Now you're with Ole Miss, and before you worked in the athletic department at Villanova. So
Yep.
How similar? I mean, obviously the facilities at Ole Miss and the facilities at Villanova are completely different. Ole Miss is about professional team scale, and then Villanova is about that of a small Catholic college. So how similar would you think the handlings of this kind of situation would be between the two campuses?
I think it's actually very similar when you look at it. At the end of the day, you can talk about the different facilities, whether it's capacity or square footage. Yes, they're different. There's more people involved here at Ole Miss. But at the end of the day, our main concern and our main focus is our student athletes. And student athletes are at Ole Miss, and student athletes are at Villanova, Seton Hall, every single school throughout the country that has athletics. And so I think it's very similar. And again, it just comes back to that, to what scale are things going to have to be done. We might have to do more things here at Ole Miss and at Villanova or at Seton Hall. It'll probably be similar procedures, but maybe not just on a large of a scale.
So kind of a follow-up to that, do you kind of, as a staff member and as from experience of working on a big staff and a small staff, do you think it'd be easier to handle this kind of situation at a big school like Ole Miss or a smaller school such as Seton Hall?
It depends. It depends what you're looking to do. I think at Ole Miss, we're fortunate to have a lot of staff members, and so we have a lot of helping hands. We've been getting assistance from a bunch of different departments working in different areas to help us out. And we have more resources and can reach out to more people for certain things. And then, at Seton Hall, I'm sure that there are plenty of staff members that are willing to help with whatever it may be. And again, there might not be as much that needs to get done at Seton Hall. Just again, coming back to that whole, size of departments and facilities and that sort of thing.
Mhm. So as a school without football, Seton Hall, I would say has a bit of an easier job dealing with fall sports, returning just without such large crowds, and only having our fall sports of soccer and volleyball. But how do you think Seton Hall would have to have as strict guidelines as a bigger school as Ole Miss, since they're not dealing with a sport the size of football in the fall?
Again, it really depends. I think one thing that a lot of people are kind of overlooking is that, and I've mentioned it a few times throughout this interview, is that we're really looking to the state health departments to help us out, to really see what needs to get done. And following whether, for us here at Ole Miss, it's our medical doctors that we have on staff, our athletic trainers, and then we've also talked with the city of Oxford and seeing what the state of Mississippi is doing as well. So to answer your question, if Seton Hall will have as strict rules or procedures and protocols, I think it really comes down to where the state of New Jersey is at that time, and seeing kind of what everyone's feel is around there in the city and in the county and just the state as a whole.
Yeah, New Jersey being one of the top states with the highest number of COVID-19 cases. So it will be interesting to see how Seton Hall does handle it, and the state of New Jersey handles a return to college athletics. But for one last question, obviously basketball is Seton Hall's biggest sport, and it is a big one at Ole Miss too. You guys were ranked in the top 25 a couple of years ago. So do you? I know it's kind of hard to look into the future, but do you expect there to be restrictions at basketball games this upcoming winter?
Again, and you've already alluded to it. It's hard to look that far into the future, especially when we are focusing on just getting fall sport athletes back. And again, I think it really depends where we are in the city of Oxford, the state of Mississippi as a whole, and even just the entire country. You hear talks about second waves coming of coronavirus coming back and whatnot, especially in the colder months. So it's just something that will most likely have to be dealt with, whether it's day by day, week by week, especially leading up to the season. I think the fall sports will be a very good indicator as to how we can continue to operate college athletics. We might try some stuff for our fall sports that might have worked great and that we can use for men's and women's basketball. And we might find some stuff that, that didn't work so well. So we're going to change that for men's and women's basketball. So again, it's just, time is on our side, fortunately, to kind of make these decisions. And as time goes on, hopefully we have a clearer picture of what we need to do.
Yeah, well, Alex, that's my last question for you. I want to thank you for coming on, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will find this information helpful to kind of gauge where the return to sports is coming. We already saw NASCAR held a few races this past week. The NHL announced their plan, and then Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, announced the return date for the NBA would be July 31st. So a lot of exciting times in sports, and hopefully maybe once we have more information and the situation progresses with the return to college athletics, we could have another meeting, kind of like an updated version of where Ole Miss is at and how I think that could affect Seton Hall. But thank you, and thank you for watching the interview, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Liam. I appreciate it.